What's up, everybody? I'm former quarterback Malik Rosier, and if football, sports interviews, and having a good time interests you, then make sure to click the like and subscribe button, as it really does help support this channel, and it also makes sure that you guys never miss a new video. How's everyone doing, and welcome back to another episode of the Malik Rosier Show. I know, like myself, many Canes fans are hurting. Obviously, I thought NC State was a dub, but obviously it didn't go that way. So we're just going to kind of go right into, some of the stuff that I've been seeing, especially, going into FSU. I'm not really going to go into NC State because we've all were there. I don't want to relive it. I want to kind of move on to Florida State, as it is FSU hate week. So number one for our defense, keep being physical. They have been dominant. This is, pretty much a national championship defense. Obviously, there's some holes, but if you talk about the way they're playing, the points they're holding people to, especially, in the first three quarters, they're doing a great job, doing their job and really executing and making it very hard for offenses to score. Number two, keep creating turnovers. Pick sixes obviously help us. But, the more turnovers we can have, the more we can be plus in the turnover margin, the better we're going to be. Three, limit explosive plays. Florida State's going to be very hard. Obviously, they have Keon Coleman, they have Trey Bitten, they have Jordan Travis. So being able to limit the explosive plays, keeping guys in front of them, and open field tackling is going to be another big thing, as they do try to get their athletes one-on-one in space. And then four, trap JT. So trap Jordan Travis. Make sure he can't run. Keep him in the pocket. Make him be a pure pocket passer. If he beats you out of the pocket, you tip your cap and you say, hey, man, you're just a good quarterback that day. But do not let him sit in the pocket and scramble and kind of do what he wants to do, because that's when it becomes dangerous, when you're able to put, your secondary guys in conflict. It's like, hey, do I cover the pass or do I go attack the run? Because this guy is an athlete. He can make plays with his legs. So keeping him in the pocket, putting a lot of pressure on him is going to be super important for our defense. So next, offensively, obviously, number one, QB play has to be better. With the QB play, obviously, it starts with TVD. And again, I don't think he's playing up to his standards or nor Mario's standards. I am very interested in the game plan that they have. I will say that I do think that they're going to start TVD. I will say they'll probably put him on a short leash, but, I think he is a vet. I think he's someone that is a competitor. I think he wants to prove himself. And this is the game. There's no bigger game than FSU to prove that, like, why you came to Miami, what you're here for, and that, you can compete at a very, very high level. So very interested if they let him play. But me personally, I would at least get him in. And then obviously, if things keep going the way that they have been last couple of weeks, then, it's up to the coaching staff to make that decision. Number two, got to be able to get 4th and 1. There's going to be some 4th and 1s. There's probably going to be some 3rd and 1 to 2s. We got to be able to push the pile and get that down in distance. Now, I am interested to see if they go any under center. I TVD 6'4", 230, 240. He's a big kid. Like, he's not small. So he should be able to take a snap and basically lean forward behind Matt Lee and get 1 yard. So I'm interested to see if they integrate that into their game plan versus FSU. And then number three, get different players involved. Richard, Ray, Tyler Harold, even Jacoby George. One thing that I'm seeing a lot of is a lot of screen passes. I'm seeing a lot of screen passes, to Kobe Young. Why can't that be Agent Zero? Why can't that be Jacoby George? Why can't that be Tyler Harold? Like, I don't understand how this kid's so fast, but he can't catch a tunnel screen or a speed sweep or like the little jet sweep where you just catch it and toss it to him and let him just run as fast as he can to the sideline and stretch the field. So to me, I think there's some guys that can be utilized in very simple concepts and be very effective for us. Number four, try any and everything this week. Trick plays, special plays, dialed up plays that have worked versus other teams versus them. Like if you see plays versus Duke, Virginia Tech, any of those big explosive plays, incorporate it all. We got to have this win. This is the biggest win of the year. Obviously, I was talking to some Miami fans and I asked them, I was like, would you take, a 7-5 season with the winner versus FSU? An 8-4 season with the loss versus FSU? To me, that's a really hard one. I don't like FSU at all, to be honest with you. But I'd hate to lose the last 2 games. So I don't know. I'm not really going to answer on that one, but I'm interested to see what your guys' are. I'm a little leaning, towards 8-4, just because 8-4 looks good. You get in a better bowl game. These guys get better gifts and stuff. They're going to play a better team to end the year. That really does help us in a lot of ways. So next, what I'm going to talk about is, Tyler Van Dyke, and there will be no like me basically downplaying him or talk about bad. To me, I want to talk about ways that I would help him. So number one is nowhere to miss. You know what I mean? So like if it's a fade, if it's a wheel, or if it's like an out route, miss outside, and that's stuff that he definitely knows. The last couple of weeks he's been keeping the ball inside. So, so that's one thing that I've always told my quarterbacks is know where to miss. If it's a fade, you have to miss outside. Because if you miss inside, it's probably gonna be a pick. Number two, effort and ball. I think that's one thing that, he's in his head. He's thinking too much. I think that when Lashley was like, hey, man, trust yourself, grip and rip it, trust these guys around you. And so I think that's one thing that he has to do is just trust the guys, trust his read, and then just play football. Three, smart situational football. I think that's one thing that has been kind of biting him. We're backed up. We have the fumble. We get in the red zone. We have an interception. Knowing when to take your chances or when not to. One thing that I think that this team needs to understand is momentum. There are certain drives, especially after another team scores, if it's in a tight game, you got to be able to close the gap on a away game and kind of gain that momentum back because it is very hard. Teams can feel it. Crowds can feel it, especially when your defense is out there, going balls to the wall, doing their job. And lastly, high energy, man. I feel like sometimes when he struggles, he kind of just allows that to seep in. I'm not saying that he is someone that, doubts himself, but I think sometimes he allows it not to be high energy, man. Wherever the quarterback is you got to be high energy. This team is going to be around. They are a second half team, so being able to jump on them early is going to be really big, and then be able to keep that first half energy into the second and third quarter is going to be big. So again, this is what I would tell TVD. I wouldn't go into like, oh, you should be doing this, that, the third better, or you're not reading stuff because I'm not in the room with him. I don't know what their reads are. I'm not the one to tell him what he's doing wrong and right. I'm just saying from what I see, nowhere to miss. F it, ball, go have fun, man. You're playing in Miami Hurricanes uniform. There's thousands of people that wish they could. Be smart and situational. Know your down and distances. Know your zones. And lastly, man, high energy. Go out there hooping and hollering, yelling around. Show us a different side of you that, I think not only we need to see, but I think your teammates need to see it as well. So we'll definitely see what happens. So the next thing that we're about to go over is just some plays and different things that I liked versus FSU that I think that, Dawson could incorporate. So the first one that we're really going to go over right here. Okay, so one thing that you're really going to see with FSU is called a one lurk. So you're going to see two high safeties, and one of those safeties are going to lurk down, okay? So all he's doing is he is playing the middle of the field, and he's going to make sure that he is spying the quarterback's eyes. For us, it'll be our quarterback, TVD, Emery, Jakari, kind of whoever it is. But the biggest thing is with this type of coverage, you got to win on the outside. So Kobe Young, Jacoby George, having those guys win. But also this too, when they're playing a lot of man, it causes a lot of eye discipline. So this was a really good play call, by Duke. That right here, what they wind up doing is they wind up doing an inside zone with the split read where they have the tight end kind of going out to the left. And he winds up pulling forward and the safety. I think we can do some similar plays. If you guys go on my Twitter, Malik Rosier 12, you'll see that I did kind of the same thing, but instead of having the tight end in a 2x2 set, I had the tight end to the boundary, and I even had Bouchard kind of in that slot position where you see the guy at the 50, and he's going to motion across, and right when he gets like the tackle, you'll clap, the ball will be snapped. You'll do your inside zone, and you're reading the same guy that they are, but now you get speed to the perimeter. So now you make it even more of a threat and urgency, saying, hey, we got to make sure zero does not beat us to the sideline. Because, again, if they're playing in man and this guy down at the bottom of the screen, right above where it says Due, if he runs a fade, then who's out here on the sideline? They have no one on the perimeter. So when you cause that motion and you have a guy like Bouchard or even Tyler Harrell, that's a 3-yard pass. Like if you have someone with speed that can just run to the flat and really stretch the defense, to me, the inside zone game becomes very much alive. And we're kind of going to see it here. And this is with the slower guy. So we're going to pause it. And you see what I mean? He threatens the flats. This is a tight end. This isn't a speed guy. This isn't their fastest guy. But look, he takes 4 out the play, and he takes that one lurk guy. And now watch this. 5 is getting bullied, who's supposed to be their first round. I mean, he's getting pushed 4 yards off the ball and doesn't make a tackle. And there you go. You're off to the races. Okay, so there are simple ways to create confusion because, again, they play a lot of man. When you play man and you motion and you shift, there has to be a ton of talking of who has who and where they're stacking and who's being going and who's doing what. But if you play fast with a little bit of tempo and you're able to shift in motion, it causes a lot of issues for teams that play man. Now, I'm going to go back to here. Okay, this is a 2x2 set, which Duke was very much fond of. One thing that I would do is maybe go some 10 personnel. I remember when we played Florida State, we went 10 personnel. We put Braxton into the boundary. But here it goes. I mean, I know you guys remember Braxton Berrios' first touchdown was that inside slot fade on a safety. And here goes a tight end. Right down to the left, inside fade on a safety. And so that's what we have to do, whether it's 10 personnel, whether it's 11 personnel. I mean, I don't care, but they're going to give us outside lane shots. They're not going to let you sit in here and run curls. They're not going to let you sit in here and run crossing routes, which is what we want to turn up. We want to turn crosses. We want to turn of digs, things like that. They're not going to let you get it. They're going to make you run fades. They're going to make you run inside slot fades. They're going to make you run corners. They're going to make you run sell routes. They're going to make you beat them on the outside, which is the hardest throws. That's the main reason why I like TVD in this game, to be honest with you guys, is because a lot of these throws are going to have to be pinpoint accurate. I'm not saying that Emory can't do it, but I'm telling you, for a young guy, the easiest throws are throws across the middle. And that's what FSU is going to try to take away all day. They're not going to let you sit there and throw across the middle. The next thing is, too, is the back getting out fast. So one thing that you guys are going to see is that the back stays in for protection. Basically, they're going to have two lurkers. They might that would have the back, and basically that one lurk safety come down now, and they're both going to kind of lurk. They're both going to watch their eyes. They're both going to figure out where they're going. So it's also going to be very important on what our backs do and even our tight ends, because with this man, they can do one or two things. They can either become a spy or something called green dog, where they add on late and they blitz. So for now, they've been doing more dropping. You know, come playing us, they could say, hey, TVD isn't much of a runner. Like Riley Leonard right here is a runner. So if you green dog him, and there's a lane open, he's going to slip and run. But with TVD, he's a little slower. So maybe they say, hey, we're going to green dog, put more pressure on his face, make him throw in tighter windows. But for the most part, this is what they've been doing. So could be interesting to see what happens. But I definitely think there's some inside slot phase on these safeties with the tight ends. I don't really know who can run it, whether it's Riley Williams, whether it's Cam McCormick. Hopefully Royal's back. I think he could be a mismatch. But finding ways to utilize our tight ends this week is going to be very, very big. Okay, now we're going to flip it over to the defensive side. Okay, so this is number one. Creating pressure, obviously we talked about, but great job right here by Clemson, into where they kind of have the edges sealed up where he can't really get off. But this is where I think our secondary has to be big. And watch this. He throws it behind. There's a drop pick, which probably would have been a pick six because he would have blocked there. He would have kicked someone out. He'd have been down the house. So one, turnovers. You cannot let an offense like Florida State, you can't let them on the field for more snaps than what they need to be. If you get a pick and there's a fumble, you got to get on the ball. That is life or death playing this type of team, because it might be 1st and 10, you drop the pick, they go down the field and they score, and then that whole drive would have been changed if you just caught the ball. So I think that's one really, really big thing that we got to get good this week at, is no drop balls, making sure that anytime the ball hits our hands, it's like a receiver. It hits our hands, we catch it. I don't care if you're a defensive back. I really, really don't care. If you're trying to go to the NFL, you better catch the interception, because in the NFL, when you give guys like Aaron Rodgers, when you give guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, you give them another chance to go score, they're going to score on you, and it's going to be your fault because you don't know how to catch. So be able to catch the ball, be able to get picks is going to be really, really big. And I think that was one reason why Clemson wound up losing this. Getting the ball right here, probably on your 40, 50, first drive, pick six, puts a lot of pressure on Florida State. The next one is stopping Trey Benson. Okay, so I know Keon Coleman has a lot of attention, which I think he should get. The guy's a freak of nature. To me, he kind of reminds me of like a 6'4" Mon Richards. One-handed catches, can run, can kind of do everything for FSU. But the guy that really worries me is number 3, Trey Benson. We sometimes struggle when there's a big physical back. I mean, think about North Carolina. The guy ran for 200+ yards. I think when any team's able to run like that versus us, it really hurts us. But not only is he able to run, this guy can catch. That's not an easy catch for a running back. I mean, that's down the field, full speed, back shoulder, tight rope in the sideline, 2 feet inbound, securing the catch. Like, we're not doing this with our backs. And that's one thing that kind of worries me. Is going to be Trey Benson ability not only to run, but catch out the backfield, calls matchups. I think there's going to be times where they're going to throw him a simple little tunnel screen or slip screen or something like that. And it's going to be kind of like the old Dalvin Cook days. It's going to be our Mike linebacker or Will linebacker versus their running back out in the hole. If you don't make the tackle, his forehead could hit the goalpost. And so I think that's going to be very, very big. It's not only obviously making sure you know where Keon Coleman is, but making sure that Trey Benson does not have a big game, because when he gets going, it just causes the offense to be more and more difficult, because then you have to commit to the run. Then it causes more one-on-one matchups. And then not only you have to worry about Trey Benson, then a couple times Jordan Travis might pull it on his own read. He makes it even harder for you. Now you're going to be all sideways. So you have to eliminate Trey Benson from running, making them beat you. Then obviously you can throw different coverages, different things like that behind, especially on 3rd down and long. But really stopping Trey Benson is going to be one of the keys to me. I hope everyone enjoyed this week's episode. Again, if you guys have not, please go to thesportsbetsexperts.com. They have unreal deals. Again, you can see them on Fox, on CBS. They've been all over. PJ does a great job of giving you guys really good picks and really helping you out. So if you guys this week are trying to go up in money and not lose like I did last week, then please go ahead and go to www thesportsbetexpert.com. And make sure that you guys at least look at their packages. They have some great ones, and obviously NBA and college basketball are right here. We just started last week. Go Canes for getting their first win. Super excited about that. But as you're doing this, man, again, if you want to win money and not lose it, you know where to go. Have a great day.